Yeah, I got you. This one's called Floss. There's a lot of double entendres in this, but that comes later. I'll explain that later, but look at the floss. I feel like a boss. These niggas is lost. Look at the floss. Look at the floss. I feel like a boss. These niggas is lost. Look at the floss. Look at the floss. Look at the drip. Look at the clip. Look at the whisk. Look at the floss.
Thanks for being a part of this special series segment with the Boardroom, where we're taking a deeper dive into WNBA players and their business portfolio off the court. And to me, I know, and I'm pretty sure all the viewers, after they watch this, they're going to know that you're the pure definition of a Renaissance woman. I mean, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, hip-hop artist, producer, WNBA All-Star, WNBA champion. Just take me back to Paterson, New Jersey, where it all started. You know, those early influences in your household that set all this off.
Man, so, okay, I'm from Paterson, New Jersey. Man, life there, I know everyone paints this picture of Paterson, you know, being a rough inner city. Of course, it has that element to it, but there's little beauties that you can find, little gems that you can find throughout the city. And those gems are more times than none are people, right? And in those gems, they'll try to educate you as far as, just having the right mind state, right? The right mind frame. And a lot of those people, what they did with me was that they made me feel comfortable with who I am, as far as just being a kid from the inner city, but a kid that was in love with music, but was also in love with the classroom as well. They will always tell me, reassure me that it's okay just to be who you are, right? So that's the first step. And then I just had a love for basketball. I felt like I was born with it. And my dad, he loved basketball. He was an athlete as well. And growing up, that's all we did. We would watch basketball on TV. So that's all we did. Whether I was in the house doing my homework or outside playing basketball, you cut out the bottom of the crate and you nail it on the tree or nail it on the lamppost. Or if you don't even have that, you just get a garbage can, you look in it, see what kind of garbage is in there, you dump it out, and then you just start hooping.
Right.
So that allowed me to continue to grow my love for the game. And it just got to a point where I was just always hear the music around me all the time. And, I remember growing up and I would sit and listen to Otis Redding with my grandfather. That was like one of his favorite artists. So sitting on the dock of the bay, that's like one of my favorite songs, and every Christmas you pull out the record player, you put on the old vinyl, and you just let it play all day from the moment you wake up till the time, it's time to go to bed. And so with the music constantly being around me, it kind of became the soundtrack of my life, right? So everywhere I would go, music would just follow me. And when I would hear music, it would make me feel like how I would feel when I would play basketball. And it was just like, wow, well, how can I actually get involved in music? And then from there, getting the private piano lessons and then studying music in school, it was like the journey was set, the table was set for me. And I just followed that path all the way throughout high school, then to college, and then, here I am now, still playing basketball, still making music, and still having a part. I'm still able to contribute to the music industry as a whole.
And so as you were speaking about the gems who transcended everything for you, your grandmother, your grandfather, your father, playing the piano, playing the sax, playing the drums, and you were speaking to high school. So when you were at Rosa Parks Performing Arts School and you're at Eastside High, was there any a time that you had to choose one over the other? Like when it came to practices, when it came from, I have to do this music lesson, or do I want to do this practice? Do I want to show up early? Like what was that like as far as priorities and then learning time management at the same time?
Man, all right, so most of the time it went smoothly, right? But it was this time in high school, I was running track, I was on the track team, and it was the county championship. I was in the championship race for the 400, which was my race. That was my race. That's what I trained for all season.
All state. I know.
You know what I'm saying?
All state.
Do you know I had to miss that championship meet to play in a piano recital. I was like, I was so torn. I was so torn. I didn't know what to choose. I ended up choosing to, play at the piano recital, and I had to put that on the back, put the meat on the back burner. But when I look, back in hindsight, I look at it as like, when you really, truly want something, and you have your heart set on it, and you're actually making moves to actually acquire whatever it is that you want to acquire, the universe would actually align everything for you.
When it came to you choosing a school and nailing it down to Rutgers, was it a big part of you that you wanted to make sure there was a good music program so you could hone in on your producing skills while you're taking on the demands of a CVIV and competing for a championship and a Big East and everything like that? So tell me about that and just narrowing it down to Rutgers and their music program at the same time.
Man, so my last 4 schools, Rutgers, UConn, Texas. At that time, they came off of the Final Four appearance, and it was Duke. And the reason why those were my last 4 schools is that they had music programs. So at that time, I wanted to do instrumental technology. Where I got that from, I don't know. I kind of I thought I made it up in my head, but then I went to maybe 2 of the schools, and they actually had a major in that, where you can work in the studios and learn everything about it. I really just wanted to be somewhere where I was comfortable in a setting with people that I felt that could, help further my career, whether it's basketball or music.
And is that where you first started looking into producing? Was it where at Rutgers when you were getting more into the producing side? And
oh yeah, for sure. Once I got there, I just brought everything down, all my music equipment down, and I just set up a little makeshift studio in my dorm. And I just started doing it every day. Whenever I wasn't playing, basketball or practicing, I was making music, or at least trying to.
Right.
In the beginning it's a little shaky.
Right.
In the beginning it's a little iffy. People are always supportive. I appreciate that support, but in the beginning it's a little shaky. It's not up to par.
Right.
But everything just started to unfold, and it was just amazing.
You're 2-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. You guys make it to the national title game, but then you're going into your senior year, and it's 2008, and the draft is coming up. Where is your mind when it comes to the draft? Take me through choosing an agent. What was that whole process like?
Okay, so final year, of course, you start thinking about being drafted, and everyone was talking about it. Do you have an agent? Right. Oh, you don't need an agent. You knew you needed an agent. It was just okay. I had to ask around. I had to ask a couple of players, what agent did they go with and why. I ended up sitting down with my agent now, and we had a good talk. And it just seemed like the signs were there. I'm just okay, you're the one. I'm not about to go through this whole process, so I just trusted him from the door.
So when you said you sat down with him and he was telling you the numbers for a rookie contract, what was your initial thought, and then going into an overseas contract? When did you start noticing the disparity that WNBA players face?
Man, so when you speak about the rookie numbers, the highest you could get at that time was probably 42, maybe. I was just oh, cool, some money. But then as the season went on and you start talking about, playing abroad, and you start hearing some of those numbers, you're oh, wow, okay, this is something.
Right.
You can make a little change.
You were drafted to New York City, which is in regards to the largest market in the world to some. How did you go about trying to push your brand? What opportunities did you have? What endorsements did you have to make up for what we were lacking stateside?
Okay, so, I was blessed enough to be a Nike athlete. As far as my brand goes, I tried to get out there in the field, right? Do the grassroots work where you go out there, you speak, you do motivational speaking. And then outside of that, I also tried to tie in my music. Because at this point now, in order for the music to grow, it was now in my own hands. So then that's when I started to build a team around me. And that was a couple years into the league, actually, when I figured out exactly what I wanted to do. So I started, strategically placing people around me that would help further my career. People don't really think about that part of things, about their circle, right? They just okay, I just want to be surrounded with my friends, my homies, and that's cool and all. That's cool. But at the same time, you need to be around people that are going to set the bar high so that it'll make you reach it, right? You're going to keep jumping for it, keep trying to grab it.
And so at this time in your career, as you're saying, you're pushing your brand, you're getting the right people around you. What does your business portfolio look like at this point? Like, where is majority of your income coming from? You have your music, you have WNBA, and then you have overseas.
Well, right now, the portfolio is changing because now I've opted not to go abroad to play. Right? And we all know that's where we make most of our money. I made that decision because I felt that it was time to start another career. Right? A lot of times we wait until it's too late to start, and most of the time that's after we retire. Now, yeah, my body feels great. Could I be playing abroad? Yeah, definitely. I feel I can run all day and jump all day. However, I'm thinking about what happens when I'm 50, right? So sacrificing something on the front end will actually pay off a lot on the back end. So now I work at, Capitol Records, Capitol Music Group. It's kind of almost like 50-50 now, but now then you bring in the third stream, which would be the actual stuff on the side, which would be like the production and stuff like that.
But you're not giving yourself justice, just due. I mean, in 2013, you released your first album, Broken Diary. So take me back to that. Take me back to where that all started. And in 2016, you do your second album, No Subs. Like, tell me how all that was going on before you decided to stop going overseas.
Man. When I think about it now, it's like, man, you were really juggling like a lot of things. But when I was
I have
in
to
it,
call you out. How are you gonna jump to Capitol Records, but you're not gonna talk about
how I got there?
I just did an album.
Oh yeah.
I just put out another album. Something light. Nah, you like, what was that like?
Man, so it was a lot. A lot of times I would actually make a lot of the music or record a lot of the music when I was overseas playing, because my schedule will open up a lot, right? So when I was in the United States, I would work a lot more on the production, like just get the production down, honing the craft, and then I would write, quite a bit. But as you know, the schedule, is quite demanding during the summertime. So finding time to record that was a little difficult. So I, tried to maximize the time that I had when I was overseas. And then within that whole period, I had an injury. I tore my ACL. So I was out the whole year.
So what was that emotions like? Like,
man,
and then trying to make a record at the same time.
Man,
how were you able to put things in perspective? Like,
right. So at that time, it was just more of a mental battle. Understanding that I will be able to play again, but you have to sit still for this year. So I maximized that time between going to, rehab for my injury. Whenever I wasn't at the rehab facility, I was at home. I built a home studio.
That I do know. When I played with you in 2014 and when I went to your apartment, I was like, she got a whole studio in her apartment.
Yeah, man, we was uptown. We was in Harlem with the studio. People used to come over, we create beats. We'll make music, we'll write songs, and we have different songwriting sessions. I made so many connections with so many people. It was amazing. And that's what happened during that time, during my downtime.
So how did all that come about, and what is your role at Capitol? And
it was definitely a blessing. So at the end of that 2017 season, after the finals, I decided to get surgery. And I ended up getting surgery, which would mean that I would have to stay here in LA for a couple months. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay in LA for a couple months. I'm not playing in Europe. So what is there for me to do? So then, the Players Association, they was like, hey, we have internships. Let's start this, or mentorship programs. And I'm like, okay, let me look into this, see what this is about. I looked into it, found someone at Capitol for them to speak with, and it was all said and done from there. I mean, it was definitely a tough process because it was the first time Capitol actually did a program like that. So I was really lucky to have, it was a lot of people involved, but to have mainly about 2 to 3 people involved that had an innovative mind. They understood that this had never been done before, but it ended up working. And, once that internship period was over, I interviewed and they gave me the job permanently. So that was cool.
So what exactly is your role? Like, what is exactly, like, give me give me an example of give me a rundown of like your day. Like what exactly does your day look like?
Okay, so when I first got there, it was mainly production all day long, right? So, but production on the corporate level is different than what, we may think of when we're talking about music and production. Everyone's used to production as far as, putting the beat together, or making a beat, or, being with the artist and making music. But then there's the other side of production where you're responsible for getting the product out. So I ended up becoming a project manager, and just managing over everything at Priority Records. And my general manager was Fuzzy Fantabulous, as everyone in LA knows him as. He's the connector. He's the connector. He was definitely a pleasure to work with, but I found myself doing a little bit of production, a little bit of like dealing with someone like the finance, and also dealing with, helping out with some of the independent labels as far as like their marketing goes. So I just found myself having all these different areas that I was learning at one time. That's not normal. And it seems like I just keep getting blessed with these opportunities to do things that may not have been done before, and just taking them head on. Of course, there's uncertainty when those opportunities present themselves, of course. But it's just like, go for it. I've been going for it all my life, and it's been working. Of course, you hit some speed bumps, and you might have some setbacks. But, when you looking at the long game, it's like, in that fourth quarter, I know that I'm going to arrive, right? And the game's going to be on the line, and that I'm going to be on the winning team. So it's just like, always just go for it, go for it, go for it.
So as you're talking about learning those different type of skills, what are your goals? Personally, your recording goals. Okay. Like, what are you looking forward to doing after this whole experience, or even during this experience? What goals do you have for yourself?
Okay, I mean, on the music side of things, I have a couple of goals, of course, right? Eventually to become a music executive, right? And be responsible for running a company, right? And then you have the other side of me, which is the creative side, the artist side, artist, producer, songwriter. So, but my end game is to be successful and to be on a platform where I can deliver my message through music, whether it's behind the board, where you don't even hear my voice, or whether it is, in the forefront on the microphone. I want the world to hear my message, and being able to connect with them, because music is a universal language, just like basketball is, right? We can go anywhere in this world right now, and we have a basketball. It doesn't matter if we speak the same language. You take the basketball, everyone knows what this is. So basketball itself is a universal language. And then you look at music, it's a universal language, because it doesn't matter if, we have a song here, it's English, it's a hip-hop song, and then you go somewhere in Europe, let's say, I don't know, let's say Germany or something like that. They will know the song, right? And they may not understand what the words are, what the lyrics are, but they understand how it makes them feel. Right. I would say that it doesn't matter where you are, right? It doesn't matter where you are, it just matters what's up here and what's in here. If you have your mind set on something and you truly believe it and you want it, it can be done. Pull up 200 on that show, cause nigga double back for the cash flow. So it's pedal to the metal to the gas low. Hit the plug to show you, let the pack go. Gold change range, things changing up here. Oh wait, I can't complain, I'm here. Keep a room for the dimes and the goon with a 9. Just a little something to keep the movement alive. All blocked out, Black Panther. You look like something, there's your answer. Around here, no pimple. Niggas is washed, they barely in the handle. The way I spot through to out to a dancer. I been down so dope, can't answer. Cause you ain't never seen another girl like me. I ain't never another girl I need. Look at the flows. I feel like a flows. I feel like flows. Look at the flows. So that was Floss.
That's so crazy.
So, yeah, I create music and I play basketball.